All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. Give me a thumbs up if you can see the slide. Conspiracy theory. Yay. Thank you, Cameron. My name is Wes Fryer. I am a current middle school teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I step out of class 10 minutes before our beginning of this webinar, and I realized I had to make a laptop shift. So Scott Moss has been organically knighted as a co-host, and please just use the chat and let us know if you need assistance. And I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have today. So this is the Media Education Lab's MediaEd Club. We are a monthly group that gather to talk about a variety of different issues. And starting in October, I had the opportunity to start facilitating these. And we will be having, I think our January session, I think will actually be about Blue Sky and educational networking on Blue Sky. I don't know how many of you, in fact, we'll do this in the chat. If you're on Blue Sky and you can copy your profile link, you might put that in. It's amazing in the weeks since the election, really the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've had an absolute explosion of educators migrating to Blue Sky, and there's some fantastic collaboration going. But we will be continuing. This is our normal time, first Monday of the month, and today's topic is conspiracy theories and the 2024 US election. And so what I would like to share with you are just a few links about this topic, and then I'm going to give us an activity that we're going to do in breakout rooms, and then we're going to come back and share. One of the best things for us to be doing when we're on a Zoom like this is interacting with each other and not just listening to a talking head. So did I even finish this out? We've already asked, and some of you have put into the chat, who's in the room. And that was actually the question from last week. So you may ignore how the internet has changed our landscape. I'm going to say, how have discussions about conspiracy affected your family relationships, if at all? We just had the Thanksgiving holidays here in the United States, and seeing some people respond visually. It can be challenging, right, with the ways in which we're a polarized society when we get together face to face with family and friends, and then also as we interact with people on social networks. So the main thing we're going to do today is give us a chance to go into Google News and do an activity together, which I'm kind of excited about. And so if you have not found your way to our document, this is a document of interactive notes. And again, I think actually I have a slide for that. I have a shortened link that you can use. So if you just go to the shortened link, wfryer.me/media club, that should forward you to this document. I will go ahead and put this into chat again. And if you need this, this will allow you to get to the slides as well as the interactive spreadsheet, which we're about to discuss and talk about. So I'm going to Google the words conspiracies and culture wars. Let's see what comes up. And yes, my page comes up here that I've been working on since 2019, when we had a face-to-face media education lab summer institute in digital literacy before COVID. And I had an opportunity to really be inspired to figure out how to talk about conspiracies and web literacy with my middle school students. And so this has really just launched an ongoing what I call media literacy inquiry project that continues to this day. And so if you scroll, and I should drop this link in, you can Google for that as well. But here's the link. It's my medialiteracy.wesfryer.com/ConCW, which is the hashtag that I've used on a variety of social media platforms. There are so many reasons why this is an important topic for us to be able to talk about, because as we'll discuss today, and we're going to investigate conspiracies and conspiracy theories, they've always been around, but they really are viral and popular on social media. And so when you scroll down, one of the things that is linked is a series of courses that I've taught, and some of you have been in some of those, called Teaching the Conspiracies. And so I offered this through the Media Education Lab last spring as a 6-week course. And then last summer, we did a 2-week version, which was dealing more with some of the historical conspiracies, and then viral conspiracy culture. The unit that we did last spring talked about a unit that I teach with my students called Fruit Loop Conspiracy Theories. And so one of the things that I tried to figure out and have been working on for several semesters is how do we talk about this stuff and not get fired as teachers in the polarized climate and environment. And so teaching middle school, I've settled on the moon landings. And so we have a series of videos that we watch about, there's a YouTuber that is James Rallison, who has this video called Conspiracies and Crazy People. And we talk a little bit about conspiracies and is there a line between fun, National Treasure style, Disney movies that have to do with conspiracies, and then where does it get dangerous when people start to say, well, I don't want to be vaccinated, or I don't think we can trust science, or things like that. And then we dive into the idea of the moon hoax. And so folks who say the moon hoax or the moon landings were a fiction, that they were false. And then we get into the SIFT web literacy framework. How do we check out the source? And really, as it says at the top of this link, the unit is really about using the SIFT web literacy framework developed by especially Mike Caulfield at the now University of Washington Center for an Informed Public, and then lateral reading, where we go to a secondary source to see what that source says about that particular person or organization that is sharing that information. Because the SIFT web literacy framework is to stop, investigate the source, find trusted coverage, and trace to the original. So anyway, these are, and then creating different kinds of media around these themes. My students this week are going to be doing their culminating video project. So that tells you a little bit about kind of where I've been as a teacher and an investigator. When you scroll down on the original Conspiracies and Culture Wars page, there are a series of wakelets. And there's a wakelet of terms, there's podcasts, there's books, there's videos, there's articles, there's student projects. As an example, here are articles. And so there's just a lot of different articles. Here's one that we saw following Hurricane Helene. We had the conspiracy theory that FEMA was going to eminent domain the area around Chimney Rock, which is about 2.5 hours from where I live, because of lithium mines. And so we literally had armed militia that were sighted wandering around, and FEMA had to stop operations for a weekend and a period of time because of concerns that we had armed militia in North Carolina that possibly might shoot FEMA members, and some of that was driven by this conspiracy theory that FEMA was not going to let people have their property. It was going to, the U.S. government was going to seize people's property under eminent domain, to take these lithium mines over. That was a specific example, but there's a whole lot. There's a whole lot of articles. So let me go ahead and introduce to you the activity which I would like for us to do, and we'll spend about 15 minutes doing that. Then we're going to come back and talk, and you don't have to listen to me talk. We'll get to have you all share. I'm dropping into the chat right now a Google Sheet. I really like to do this with my students. And when I do set this up as a middle school student, I will talk about how dangerous this is. I'm about to change the sharing on this document, so it's not view for everyone. It's going to be an edit for everyone. Now, it does keep track of who edits what, and so that kind of accountability is there. But here's what I'd like it for us to do. I've created a spreadsheet, and it has seven different worksheets or tabs down at the bottom, and those are going to correspond to your groups. In fact, Scott, if you want to go ahead and hit breakout rooms, we have about 28 of us, so maybe 5 breakout rooms, or if you want to do 6, we can reposition people. I want to have at least 3 or 4 people in each breakout room. And here are your instructions. I would like for you to go to Google News, news.google.com. And I would like for you to find articles about conspiracy theories from the past 30 days. So if I put in the word conspiracy here, one of the things that I can do with search results, I think I can do this. I was thinking that I had a toggle. Aha, look at that. Yay, there it is. Okay, past 21st, past week. Oh, well, maybe it's going to be a little bit hard to do for the past month. I can click in Google News on the little arrow next to the search bar, and I can refine my search. Exact phrase has the words is what it has right now. And then it says anytime. So if you want to do the past week, that's fine. You could do the past year. It's really going to be okay. I kind of wanted to do since the election, but let's just do the past week. And so here are news articles that are relating to the idea of conspiracies. So here's an example. This is a PBS News article saying that Trump has tapped the deep state conspiracy theorist Kash Patel to lead the FBI. And so I'm going to just do this one as an example, and then we're going to turn you loose on your in your groups to go ahead and work this. So I'm going to pretend like I am in group one. I'm going to go into the article title, and I'm going to paste in the article, and then I'll type the source. So this comes from PBS News. You're going to put the link to that article in here, and then you can summarize this specifically as it applies to conspiracy theories. The new FBI appointee subscribes to deep state conspiracy theories. Okay, and I have set column D to wrap. That is under the format menu, wrapping. And then I've also set the notes and comments, which is in pink there. What I'd like for you to do in the yellow columns is find Wikipedia articles that may help us with this particular article. And so, for instance, PBS News, when you put the word Wikipedia in with the title, you can find, if it's a mainstream, relatively established news source, and even for some that aren't, you're going to find an article that's going to help us laterally read to get information from another source about that source to decide, okay, is this a credible source? Is this someone, out of their garage? Do they have an identified bias, etc.? So you can paste that in. And then if you have other links, so I might say deep state conspiracy. And again, I'm going to put the word Wikipedia, and there's the article, deep state in the United States. Now, when you're on a Wikipedia article like this, one of the things to note is that you can go into the talk page. You can see if there's debate, what kinds of categories it's put in, what's controversial. Very, very interesting with conspiracy theory to take a look at how Wikipedians are discussing a particular page. And by the way, what we're doing right now, this isn't an activity I'm doing with my middle schoolers, right? You're going to have to decide for the context and situation that you're in, whether an activity like this is going to be something that you would want to do. Oops, that's the wrong link. With your students or not. For me, this fits into the, and I'm going to go to my web history and get my link. So I gotta copy my link, and I'm going to paste my link in here as a second Wikipedia link. I can go ahead and put any comments, and then I'm going to put my name, if you just want to use your first name or whatever, there in the last column. And that's basically done. So I've done one article. We're going to give you 15 minutes with your group to try and do this. I'm going to change the sharing settings right now. And so, in fact, in your group, everybody doesn't have to be typing in the document. You can appoint somebody to do that, and then together you all can discuss it. But I'm going to go ahead and change this to editing. And now you're not going to know until Scott puts us in breakout rooms, or I do here in a second, which room you're going to be in. But that breakout room is going to correspond to the sheet that you'll be working on. So group one, I've already done an article for you. Breakout room one is going to be doing sheet one. Okay. All right. If you've got questions, go ahead and put those into the chat. Scott, are you able, is your mic working? Are you able to?
Yeah, I'm just ready for the go ahead. I can click create, and then everyone's going to get sent away.
You're the man. You're the man. Okay. Well, we're going to give everyone 15 minutes, get as many as you can, have a conversation in your breakout room, and then we're going to come back and share and talk about what we did and what we've learned. So yeah, Scott, please send us off to our breakout rooms. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you were able to engage in some good dialogue and discussion in your group. What I would like to do is actually, I'm going to ask Catherine to share a little bit about All Sides, because that's a website that she was sharing in our breakout room that is really wonderful for these kinds of activities and discussions. But then let's just raise our hands and have people share, because maybe I should have started with the Hunter Biden, conspiracy theory with the news that is on today. There's so many important things that I want to talk about. And as a current middle school teacher, I just feel like I can't. So I'm thankful for an opportunity for us to engage with this, but there's so much here. So Catherine, can you tell us about All Sides? And I apologize, I did not turn the screen sharing on for everybody when we went into breakout rooms, but I'll go ahead and show All Sides. Tell us a little bit about this, if you would, Catherine. I think you're muted. Catherine, you may have to unmute.
Sorry about that. Okay, so you're showing it?
I'm showing.
Show mine because I'm
show yours. No. Let me do that. Scott, can you change permissions to let?
I can, but you
Okay.
need to stop sharing.
Okay. Stop, Wes. Oh, jeez. Is it? Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Do you guys see my screen? Am I logged in? Do you see upgrade invest over here?
Yes, we do.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so All Sides, for those of you, I think it's in the chat, but it's a really good way to demonstrate how different media sources present or report on the same news event. So for example, the Joe Biden pardons Hunter Biden, here's this, so here's the left reporting, here's the right reporting. So you can read how each one of these news organizations has kind of.
You may need to share again. I don't know. I'm not actually seeing your screen. I'm just seeing your image right now.
I'll try again.
I saw it.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I messed it up.
You got multiple monitors going or something.
I do. There it is.
Can you see it now?
I can see it now.
Okay.
It could be used.
So there's different, so it's a really good way, not only to have your students, can look at these three different ways that, or two different ways that something is being presented, but it's a good way that you can also talk about media and bias. And so they talk about how they rate the media, what the different bias charge, their methods, and those kinds of things. And then the other thing that's really nice is you can sign up for free. So you can create an account and you can go to schools here. And when you're signed in under schools, you can get access to these particular lesson plans. So they have kind of a pathway that they like you to take, but how to spot media bias, polarization, comparing bias, exploring complex topics, all of these things. Plus they have all of these other different tools that you can use. And then there's professional development opportunities and different things. And so all of this is free. You can create a paid account and get access to certain other things, but you get a lot for a free account. And then they've just started this new program here. It's called Mismatch. And what you can do is you can sign up and you can have Zoom dialogue meetings between schools and stuff from different parts of the country. And so it gives you an authentic way to have conversations across different kind of regions, areas, if you're in, South LA to Iowa, or, you can have these different things. So All Sides and they're really expanding all of their resources. So I would continue to watch that. And I just noted that I have a hard time with my own biases. I'm very, very much biased in a certain direction. And so I have to actively seek and look at alternative perspectives. Because if I'm going to teach that to my students to do that, and I don't do it myself, that's kind of hypocritical. So All Sides is a helpful way for me to see alternative perspectives without having to go to something like Fox News or, some of those ones that give me
Are harder to read.
so
Thank you, Catherine. I
you're
want to open up the mic for folks to share either something you talked about in your breakout room to give voice to that, or just tell us a little bit about how this activity went. I might have expressed this earlier, it might have been the breakout room, but I would love to do this kind of activity with my own students. But currently, I feel like in our polarized climate, it's just too dangerous. And so I really steer my students clear of current events. I want to teach of anything to do with polarizing political stuff. I do teach them Google News. We talk about how to vet sources, but I'm not like straight into contemporary conspiracy theory in the same way. But let's open it up. Would anybody be willing? Barbara, go ahead. And then if anybody else wants to raise
I
your
was
hand.
in breakout room 4, and what was interesting was 2 of us went to Google News to get articles, and we both got different articles. They sent us all different articles. They didn't even send us the same thing. I put conspiracy theories in the last 7 days, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the person who I was
That's okay.
working. I'm embarrassed.
Okay. You're good.
But we talked a little bit about the articles, the article about Paul Gosar
Yes.
from Arizona and his anti-Semitic views, and the paper or the publication that pointed this out to people. So
Right.
we did that. And that was about as far as we got.
But Barbara, that's a huge realization, and I'm so glad you mentioned it, because when I was originally starting this project back in 2019, one of the things we realized is that if we would ask our students to Google certain things, number one, that can affect their digital footprint, and it could affect through their search history and their view history, what they end up being fed on YouTube. Going out there to search for conspiracy theories back then led to a lot more direct rabbit hole, type conspiracies. And so it's important. So we can use some incognito windows, but we need to be aware of that. But the fact that you're served different things, of course, points out how the social web works, that these, even with Google News, technologies have tracked things that we have seen. And in many cases, it's going to feed us something that it thinks, we're going to be more likely to be engaged with and watch.
I put this in the chat, but I've heard that called filter bubbles, what Barbara's experienced there.
Yes, Katrina. How do you think we can address that? And how tell us a little bit about your context, Katrina, and how do you think filter bubbles can be discussed with students in your context?
I mean, it's a little troubling sometimes. I'm also in a middle school situation as a middle school librarian, and yeah, they definitely think you put in a search term and whatever comes up first is the truth. But if they're searching on their phone, whatever comes up first may be one thing. If they're searching on their older brother's computer, or if they're searching on their parents' computer, what comes up first is going to be affected by all of those people's search histories and the algorithm and what it puts in front of them. So, I kind of try to talk about it that way of like, does your sibling watch all the same things on YouTube that you watch? No. But if you're on their computer and you pull up YouTube, it shows you a bunch of videos that they just watched and says, oh, you just watched Minecraft. You might like more Minecraft, but maybe you really like Taylor Swift and you think Minecraft's terrible. And so when your sibling gets on and they look for their videos on YouTube, what YouTube feeds them or what Google feeds them is everything latest with Taylor Swift. and they're like, I don't want to know about Taylor Swift. I don't care about that. So
Yep.
it's a way to like connect it to their experience in a
Right.
way that's
Yes.
apolitical.
You're helping them learn about the algorithm, learn about the ways in which algorithms are shaping flows of information. And those are really, really important lessons for students to dive into. I've put a link into the chat and I'm sharing my screen for a lesson I call Launchpad Wikipedia. I actually do this as a sketchnoting activity to teach my students how to create sketch notes. But I really think that lateral reading with Wikipedia is a fantastic strategy. This is a John Green video from 2019. It's part of his series for Crash Course called Navigating Digital Information #5, but it really goes into how Wikipedia works and the ways in which Wikipedia can be leveraged. And to the point we were just discussing, and I'll drop that link in the chat, and we'll have the chat links also on our webpage. We'll do that as well as share the recording of this video afterwards. When you go to Wikipedia, one of the great things is we see the same version at the same time. I'm going to just Google Wikipedia Hunter Biden laptop. So here's the controversy over the Hunter Biden laptop, and the fact that with Wikipedia, we're not seeing a different set of results. Now, this can change in addition to the talk page and seeing that, oh, the controversies here are being debated by Wikipedians. And here's a whole section about, conspiracy theory. It also, that video, and I point out to my students, the history page, right? Here are the different edits, the reasons why these pages have been edited. I've dreamed of doing a whole class just upon Wikipedia and editing Wikipedia. There's so much good web literacy to get from Wikipedia. But I think that that's a really important point of, different search results. Let's get a few more voices. We got about 10 minutes and then we're going to have to call it off. So who else can share something either that you talked about or that you all did in your breakout session? Please grab the mic. We heard from group 4. We haven't heard from anybody in group 3 or group 5, I don't think.
Wes, I just want to add that I don't teach. I work with adults. I created a workshop to give adults tools to decode the news. And I wish there was more media literacy for adults. That's all I can say to get that to them. And I use the all sides chart. It's fantastic for media bias, lateral reading, and SIFT. I have that. I used that when I did my workshop. So I just wanted to share that I wish there was more media literacy for not just for K through 12 and college, but for adults who are older.
100%. And hopefully that our media club and the Media Education Lab network in general, Barbara, can continue to be a good place to network, to find others who have that passion and interest to share resources. Let's hear from some other voices that we haven't heard from. Or Scott, help me out if you want to call on somebody and give.
Well, I'll share from room 3 what Kathy and others were saying about, and kind of building off what Barbara just said, is trying to do this ourselves. For someone like me, and I'll speak for Kathy, it's very hard to watch Fox News, and you don't do that. And we try to encourage lateral reading and exploring all sides, but that we need to kind of do that ourselves. And it's just as hard. It's going to be just as hard for our students, whether they're adults or younger, to do that as it is for us. So I think that's an important point to think about.
I wonder if the historical side of this is a way to approach some of it. There's so many. Well, I read Rachel Maddow's is a prequel, her book. I listened to it actually on Audible. There are a lot of things happening in the news today, which a number of people feel are very fascist, and there are some historical lessons to be learned. And so that's one of the things with looking at the Apollo moon landings. I do send videos home to parents, and I'm trying to be as in front of that as I can, that I'm not here to indoctrinate your children to a political party. I'm here to help them become critical thinkers and learn how to not fall into a rabbit hole and be able to vet sources and decide who to trust and believe. But the other thing I'll comment that I shared is, I joined Truth Social and re-engaged on Twitter following the election. And part of that was because I feel like as a media literacy educator, it's just so important for me to step out of whatever my bubble is. And I think Ryan, I don't know if Ryan's still in, but he had mentioned, Newsmax. I was in a meeting this morning where somebody had popped up a Newsmax article. Like, that's not a website I'm normally reading, but it really is important for us to understand how fractured and channelized, information is. And I almost think that we need to be targeting, I don't know, it's just really hard. We young people, and one of the good things that's, we have lots of book bans and things that I think people have strong views about. The internet, TikTok, YouTube, these sources of information, while there is discussion about regulation and banning and things like that, I think that we need to spend more attention on influencers and who the influencers are, and trying to empower more media literacy influencers, because in the wild of social media, there's all kinds of discussions going on about these kinds of topics. It can be very challenging as a teacher to know what to do. I'm talking too much. Let's hear from some other people. What else did you all talk about, or just what's going through your head as we've engaged in an activity here? And
I was,
Oh,
oh,
sorry.
sorry.
You can go, Lauren.
I was by myself in group 5. I loved this activity, and thinking of it both from a student perspective, and then also, well, I think it was Barbara who was just talking about with adults, and how I think it's a great activity, especially kind of crowdsourcing, if you will, the information. For students, what I found was that I didn't actually read anything thoroughly. And I think that's one of the things that we need to be teaching kids to do. And maybe if we were to do a lesson like this, I don't know, giving it more time or putting a little more structure around it to make sure that the kids are actually reading all of those things. And then for older adults, like the easy part for kids would be the copying and pasting the links and the titles and all of that part. They can do that blindfolded. It's more of the processing all the information part for our younger students that they need help with. The older adults probably would need help with both of those things. Many older adults, like if I think, oh gosh, even if I think of my husband who can't tell his text messages from his emails, like he would have a hard time pasting links and doing an activity like this. But being able to see the information, if we could think about how to maybe format it differently or hand them the sources on paper or something so that they can see how you might use some of this, might be a good way to handle that. So that's just sort of what I was thinking about as we were going through it, more from like a teaching perspective, how you might approach it.
That was fantastic. And I don't know if you all were clicking into the different groups. I will change the rights after we hang up this call, so it'll freeze. But you're welcome to duplicate this. But I've done a bunch with both Google Docs and Sheets and slides and all this, and the sheet seems to work really well with groups of people, especially if you sort of pre-templatize like this with different groups for people to go into, and then being able to synchronously not step on each other as much and be able to work together. So there's some really good media literacy skills embedded in this, but I 100% agree with you, Lauren. Doesn't it just really jar you how we tend to scan and view a headline and read, just read a little bit, versus reading the entire thing and really trying to distill, the message and the nuance. Let's get a couple other thoughts, and then sadly, we're going to have to wrap it up.
So when you talked about an influencer, I have a TikTok problem. I had to turn on parental controls on my phone because I'll sit there and mindlessly scroll. But for some reason, TikTok a couple of days ago started giving me videos from the exact opposite of my viewpoint for some reason. And it showed me how easy it is for somebody to fall down that rabbit hole. Because I saw a video, I was like, it totally went against everything that I thought I knew. And I was shocked. But then as soon as I started going after some of their stats, I was like, well, they're wrong there. And so it kind of brought me back, but that was a really eye-opener for me to see how powerful these influencers can be.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. And if you all don't follow Ryan Collins, he is an incredible Ohioan that is sharing all kinds of stuff.
I would like to say something, if possible.
Yes, please do.
Well, I'm interested in our own bias. Someone mentioned that we should do on ourselves bias, and your opinion about how to teach in polarized society.
Yes, ma'am.
We in Montenegro have a great experience in it. It is not easy at all. But US is now maybe facing with the extreme polarization in society. And I'm very interested maybe in sort of mechanism we could have well, to make the problem easier to be solved. And your mention of the fracture, how fracturized everything is in social media is very important, because it opened new ways to media biases, up to the echo chambers between young people and so on. So problem is not being easier so far, but being even more complicated.
I have a call to action, if it's okay. I'll be real quick. I've started the New Media Project, an organization that's trying to help get the young people more civically and socially minded. Part of that is media literacy and informing them, why it's important to vote and engage in their community. So if folks are interested, would love to have your support. It's a coalition of people across different industries, different sectors, and hopefully we can change policy and make this a bigger issue. So we'd love to engage you all.
Absolutely. That's great. Hey, folks, I regret we do need to wrap up. I've dropped a link there to Ryan Collins to his Substack. Feel free to also add to the document that we've got that is going to be open. I want to give a shout out to the MediaEd Forum that the Media Education Lab is going to be doing in January for that registration. And I'm so glad that you were here. This was hopefully a good experience. We're going to continue to do this monthly and learning about new tools and skills, but also just networking with each other and connecting to a community of educators and citizens that care about these topics and want to have practical things to do to not only work with our students, but also be able to work in our communities on these issues. So I want to thank all of you for your work. I want to wish you a merry holiday if you're looking at that here with a few weeks at the end of December. I want to invite you to join us for our session on Blue Sky, which we will have information about on our website. And thank you all for coming. Please continue to join us for another edition of the MediaEd Club with the Media Education Lab. And so ends our recording. Maybe I can find recording.